everyone, this is Miss Jenna again for our next Trout Thursday installment. And this week we're just going to do a short and sweet kind of video about our fish and kind of what stages that they're all at, because we actually got another shipment of our eggs in, right? And guess what? They're already not even eggs anymore. And it's only been about a week and a half. So we're gonna tune in to see how each of our stages is doing, how they're progressing, and some little fast facts about each of them for this week, all right? So first, a quick pop in on our adult tank. Right now, these fish that are in here are 450 days old, which means that they're about a year and 85 days old. And look at these girls. Hi. They are quite large and in charge fish, right? Yeah, look at her. She's like, give me some food. There's her buddy down there. So both of these girls are doing really great. They're always hungry. I'm gonna go ahead and turn their little feeder on. See if they come up and grab some stuff. There we go. Yum, yum, yum. These girls are well over a foot long each. You can see they're absolutely beautiful. They have that nice rainbow pink stripe down their sides, the nice rosy red cheeks, and the beautiful speckling all over their body. As these fish get bigger, they have something called counter shading. And counter shading basically means that they are this darker on the top and then they're lighter on the bottom. And quite a few animals in nature have that counter shading. And what that does for them is if a predator is looking at them from underneath of them and looks up, they see the white belly, which then matches the kind of light coming from the sky, versus if the predator is swimming above the fish, then all that they're seeing when they look down is that dark coloration that kind of matches the dark bottom of the stream as well. So that counter shading really helps them to camouflage and blend in so that they're less likely to be eaten. Now, of course, when they're this big, they don't have quite as many predators. However, their predators start to get bigger. So bigger animals like your foxes and your raccoons, bears in some parts of the state, things like that, are then gonna wanna make a nice tasty meal out of this fish. Or an angler that's out there recreational fishing and catches one of these big girls, that would make quite the dinner, wouldn't it? So these girls here will probably be with us just until this spring. They are starting to get a little large for their exhibit here, hence why it's kind of this cloudy color. We've been battling some nitrate issues, but they're still doing well. Since they are this big, they're pretty hardy at this stage. But just because they're getting a little too big, we're gonna go ahead and tag and release these girls when we release our fingerling fish as well. And then we'll just keep a couple of our fingerlings from this year and grow them up to be nice and big as well. So that is our big adult tank. Still has some nice, beautiful monster fish in there. So then we can move on to our baby tank. Now our baby tank right now actually has our 2 stages in it. We have our Parr guys that are just about fingerling size. They're, for my finger, they're getting pretty close. A larger person's hand, I have very small hands, they might not quite be a fingerling size yet. But these guys are 82 days old since we got the eggs back in December. We have 18 total of these guys. And something pretty cool that we've noticed is, let's see if I can get a good film of these. So these girls are gorgeous. Like, their colors are just so pretty. You can see that stripe down their side, their nice little Parr marks. But if you look carefully at their fins, this is the interesting part. So our volunteer, Jim, he noticed the other day when he was here that these fish have these white tipped fins. And typically in a rainbow trouts do not have white tipped fins. They just have dark fins all the way around. And it's only in certain species of trout that they have that nice white outline there. So it's pretty neat. We're going to be sending some pictures over to the hatchery out in Washington State, and we're going to see what they have to say about it, whether there might have been some genetics, some crossing between different fish, and try to figure out why they have these white tips, because it's pretty cool, and it makes them really, really pretty as they swim around in this tank. It adds like this little flash of white here and there when they swim around. And of course, as our big girls are also hungry, these girls also love to eat, so we're gonna go ahead and get some of their food in here too. I'm actually gonna film it from the top this time because I love watching them come up and breach the surface. Yum, yum, yum. You're in the splash zone. So while these girls don't splash quite as much as the big ones yet, they're getting there. I've had one of these girls jump almost fully out of the water. That's why we keep the lid on them. So they're getting pretty big. They're each about 2.5 inches long. Some of them are pushing that 3 inches. And then 1 or 2, we have a couple of stragglers that are only about 2 inches. But overall, they're growing and progressing at a really nice rate. Now with their coloration, again, they have that counter shading as well. But the big thing that helps these ones out is, of course, their Parr markings. So those little circly lines that go down their sides vertically, those Parr marks help to kind of break up their silhouette, and it casts shadows. So as they're swimming in the streams, they're not as noticeable as if it was just a big kind of silver fish. So we're happy that these guys have now, ever since we had that escapade of figuring out what was causing all of our babies to die, these 18 have been super strong and healthy, showing no sorts of illnesses or anything like that. Right, so that's them. So then, wait, we just gotta scroll over a little bit. Well, let's first talk. These guys are 12 days old, our eggs that we just got. And already they are Alevins, so they have all hatched. Let's come on over, check them out. There they are, our little cute babies. And they're already starting to move around a lot more than even just the other day. They're slowly starting to wiggle up, moving around. They always scare me because sometimes they look like they're dead, like the ones that lay on their side, but it's okay, they're just resting. That's what they naturally do out in the streams. They'll kind of lay down in the gravel. They'll blend in that way. They're very small, so they kind of just are down in the rocks. But you can see that then they all of a sudden get like an energy spurt, and then they'll and they'll swim around a little bit and then come back down. And you can see their orange egg yolk. So that's still their yolk sac from when they were inside the egg. That's where they're getting all their nutrients from right now. So these ones were not feeding because they're absorbing their egg sac, and that's giving them all the nutrients right now that they need in order to survive. And so again, these guys are called Alevins. Once they absorb their egg sac there, then they'll be known as fry, like small fry. They're very small. And then eventually they start to get their Parr markings, like our slightly bigger girls over here. Her beautiful Parr marks. And then eventually again getting to that finger length size is when we'll then go ahead and release them. So we started off with 120 eggs. We only had about 2 or 3 eggs that just weren't viable. So if an egg doesn't get fertilized, they'll get moldy and they just won't grow. So we just sucked them right out of the egg basket when the grate was still in there. And then it's cool because when we have our grate that's in there, right now it's not there. So let's see, I don't have it near me. Basically, it lines them up perfectly, like in the picture from the last Trout Thursday, and it allows you to count them really easily. And the other cool thing is that as they hatch, they're actually skinnier, and so they fall down the grate, and then they stick on the bottom. So you can count then how many hatch out and then how many are still eggs. So we removed those 3 or so moldy eggs, and then we only had about 2 Alevins that then just failure to thrive, so we sucked them out before they could get super moldy. And now we have 115 happy, healthy, wiggly fish that are doing really, really well. It's really cool because now you can really start to see some of their features are being defined. You can really see their little eyeballs. If you look carefully, you can see their spine down their back. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and suck one of these guys up, and we're gonna go ahead and look at them underneath of our microscope so that we can get a really up close view of our babies here. All right, so coming over here, we have our little microscope here. It's pretty cool. Here's a little petri dish with just a shallow bit of water in it, and our little Alvin right there. Don't worry, she is still alive. Yep, she's making sure that you know she's still alive. We're not going to keep her here very long, so you don't have to worry about her not having enough oxygen and a little bit of water. And then we have this little kind of rubber ring here that helps to keep her in place so we're not chasing her around the petri dish to try to get a look at her. And so then we can look at her on our screen here, which I'll also just put up a little short clip of her, because with this microscope it's really cool. You can actually record, take pictures, everything. But it's pretty amazing to see this teeny tiny little fish up this close, and then also to imagine that this little small thing turns into one of those giant, like 16-inch rainbow trout over in that other tank. It really goes to show how amazing nature is. So wasn't that amazing? I mean, you could see our little trout here open its mouth, breathing, all the close-up of the fins that are starting to develop, all the veining in the fins. So now we're gonna take her over here. I'm just gonna take the ring out, and then we're gonna go ahead and put her back in with her sisters. And she goes, floating down. There she is. Super happy. Back in with everyone else. So again, in a little bit longer, once they have all of their sac absorbed, then they'll start going into what's called their swim up stage. That swim up stage is again where they're literally going to swim up. They'll start to go up towards the surface. Once they start to hit that swim up stage, that's when we can go ahead and start feeding them. Just a little teeny bit at a time. And you can actually tell when a fish is full based on looking at their belly. They will literally have full bellies. So our little girls that are over here, now that they've been eating quite a lot today, they're still eating a little bit, I threw some more in. You can look, you can see how their little bellies kind of just bulge out a little bit. So you can see that they have nice full little bellies, and that they're very happy and healthy. So These girls will eventually do the same thing. When they start eating, you can actually see the outline of their stomach because they're so small and thin, and you can see that they're nice and full. Feeding can sometimes be challenging if they don't swim up to the surface, or if you're wondering if they are even eating. Easy way to tell is by looking at their bellies, making sure that they're full. So just a quick reminder for our setup right now, in case you log on to take a look at our live streaming video cameras. We do have 2 cameras. Typically one is on our adult tank, but for right now, since we have our babies in the basket, we actually have both of our cameras focusing on our babies in here. So we have our one cam that's actually got a wonderful top-down view of everyone, which does make it super easy to see how many there are, to kind of count them and get a look at them that way. And then of course we have our other camera that has our nice little side view. So that's going to show us really when they start to move up and down in their egg basket a lot. Now eventually we are actually going to be parting with our little Parr guys here. They're going to be going to another school so that they can be enjoyed and used as a lesson at that school. But that'll be okay, because then we'll have our 115 little guys that will go ahead and take up this whole tank. Otherwise, we were going to actually have to separate the tank because these girls would love to eat those girls right up there. And so we won't have to worry about that predatory aspect once these girls go to their new home. So as these ones get bigger, and once we rehome our little Parr girls, then we'll be sure the camera might change again. We might then have one again just facing this tank and another facing our big adults over there. So always tune in, because you never know what's gonna be happening on some of the cameras on any given day. All right, so besides, of course, our Trout Thursday videos that come out every other week, and then tuning in to look at live streams of our fishes, don't forget to check out the other resources that we have up on the website. We have all of our data sheets that are up there. We've been trying to be pretty good about taking a water chemistry test just about every day. The weekends usually don't get done, but we've got a lot of good data up there if you want to work with your kids on doing graphs, tracking temperatures, tracking all the different nitrogen cycle, everything like that. Those resources are great, especially if you don't have a tank that's already in your room. So you're like, I don't want to just make up numbers. Well, don't worry. Both of our data sheets for our baby tank and our adult tank are up there, and you can go ahead and use live actual data and make charts and do whatever you want as far as lessons with that. There's also a couple of other teacher resources up there. There's different videos up there as well from both different schools and a couple of our volunteers that have been taking different videos of the trout and the process and all sorts of fun things in the fish world. So be sure to check those out. Thank you again for joining me for a short but sweet little catch up on our fishes here. Our next lesson will be a little bit longer. And again, be sure if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, go ahead and email us at our Trout in the Classroom email address. So until 2 weeks from now, bye guys. Get outside, enjoy the weather, go fishing. Bye.